Hello. Hello, ladies and
Hello.
gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day and a very warm welcome to Chai with Vijay Jogia. Chai. Enjoy it. So, very welcome to the show today, Chai with Vijay Jogia. I'm Vijay Jogia and I'm host here today. I'm your host today. I am logging you in, so welcome to the show. We are live on Facebook and we are live on YouTube. Before we start the show, let me just go through some of the legalities. The purpose of this show is to invite professionals and various achievers to come and to talk to us about the current affairs in their areas of expertise. Our guests are from all over the world, and the subjects that we cover span from Bollywood, law, immigration, charities, sports, you name it, any subject, and we'll discuss that. Furthermore, this program is to provide you information. What information? Here there is no money exchange, nor there are any financial gains by anyone. Furthermore, there is no discrimination or favorism towards or against any individual or any organization. I hope all that is clear. The program here is for your entertainment only. So without any further ado, I am really excited as well as delighted to introduce to you our guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is a young, dashing director from a very well-known and a very reputable company based in Queensland. Please welcome Mr. Anshul Arora, an expert in migration consulting services. Mr. Anshul Arora, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Is everything good today?
Absolutely.
You had a good day?
Yes, still at work.
Well, before we talk to you further, let's just play your video. So, Mr. Anshul Arora, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And let me just bring you here near me. That's much better. So, the company is eHelp Consulting and Migration Services in Queensland. That's fantastic. I went through your website and it sounds really good. Before we start, Anshul, let's talk about, tell us more about yourself. Where are you from and how did you start this consulting services and where are you now? If you don't mind.
Sure. Hello, everybody. And thank you, Vijayji, for having me on the show, and warm welcome to all the viewers and listeners as well. My name is Anshul Arora. I'm the Director of eHelp Consultancy and Migration Services. Our head office is based in Brisbane. We have offices around the globe. We have our office in UAE, Abu Dhabi. We have one in Gujarat. We have an office in Philippines, in Sri Lanka, and one in Delhi. We're also working on establishing another office in Melbourne at the moment. It's still in the pipeline. We haven't finalized it. This is about my company. We work predominantly with education agents, both onshore, offshore. We have a lot of sub-agents For some clients, we're the face of the business, and for some businesses, we are the back office. Uh, we the we also have student counselors, so we guide students from all across the world. We don't deal with any one particular kind of community. We have students from all backgrounds, migration clients from all backgrounds, Philippines, Sri Lankans, Chinese, Indians, Malaysians. We even have clients from the European sector whom we work with. Um, this is about myself. This is about the business in general. Um, I'm the director of this business. I share the role with another director of mine who looks after sales and marketing. I look more after the operations of the business. Uh, uh, I came to Australia in 2002, so I've been here for nearly 18 years now. I came in July 2002, so I'll be completing a full 18 years in July 2020 this year. Came to Australia as a young student. Uh, did my bachelor's, did my master's in Australia as well. I've done my graduate certificate in migration law as well. Done a master's in management. That's my educational background. I've run and owned businesses previously in Australia. I've also worked for companies like BP Australia. I've worked for the Queensland government as well in short roles, contract-based roles. And then I decided to get into migration. We started this office around 2017, and ever since we've been working in this business. We've expanded to the different countries, as I mentioned before, and we're still learning, and we're still helping all our students and clients.
Wow, that's a beautiful self-introduction. Thank you so much. That was really nice. And I can see you've got enormous amount of experience. So that's really good. Let's get into the subject. Let's look at migration. Now, what's the current situation like? So, for example, if I'm in India or if I'm in England or wherever, and I decide that I want to come to Australia to study. Tell me what is the process from kind of, somebody like me doesn't know much about immigration. Nothing. So what would you expect to explain? How would you explain that to somebody like me?
See, migration, the term migration itself is a very vague term. So if you have to start your journey to Australia, you have three ways of doing it. You can either come to Australia as a student, or you can come to Australia as a skilled worker, or you can come to Australia under the employer-sponsored stream, where an employer is looking for some sort of talent which they cannot find in Australia, and they have to recruit or they have to hire an employee that is based overseas. The skilled stream is basically for those workers who are skilled in a particular kind of an occupation, whether it be marketing specialist, or it could be a human resource manager, or it could be a scientist or a food technologist or an agricultural consultant that Australia is seeking, which is on their skills list, and applicants who are currently overseas and possess those skills can actually apply under those streams. There's a detailed procedure for that, which includes skill assessments and assessments in terms of age, qualification, points, your partner's qualifications, etc. And then if you meet the eligibility criteria, we apply for that, and then you get nominated. Now, under those streams as well, there are broader streams. Don't want to go too much into detail because then it starts getting confusing and it becomes complicated.
Right.
The third stream, which I was talking about, was students. So they come to Australia, they choose the career in which they want to study. Now, again, that also is detailed, but in just going through the outline, they, based on their previous study or based on their previous graduation, they pick up a course, they study that, and then they can apply for skilled migration whilst they're in Australia.
Right. So for young person, right, late teens and early 20s, and he wants to come and do a degree course or whatever profession he wants to go into. I remember when I was migrating to Australia, there was a point system, and you had like 125 points or so to qualify. And what they used to do, they give you 75 points for your first degree. They give you 15 points for your age. They give you 10 points whether you can read, write, and understand English. And then they give you 5 points. They give you 5 points if you have somebody here already, like Northern Territory or Western Australia or Tasmania. If you go and study there, you get 5 extra points. So for me, at that time, like getting 125 points to qualify, right? Which I did. Now, is that still around, or that's changed significantly?
That is still around. So the Australia is still working on the point system, but the way they have designed the points has actually changed. So as you were mentioning, Vijayji, that it used to be 120, 125 points. At the moment, the pass mark is 65 points. It used to be 60 till the last year, the year before, and when it's now come to 65. You still get the regional area points, you still get the English points, you still get the points for your Australian education, etc. In fact, in November, they added a new category which says if you're single, you get 10 points. If you are married and your partner has competent English, which is 6 in each in IELTS or equivalent with the other exams, you get 5 points. If they have another skill assessment, then you have the 5 points as well. So this was a bit more of the extra edition that we had in November last year. So 16th November 2019 is when this started.
Okay, so basically it's still the same, but just an extension of that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Moving on, so what happens once a student applies, he's got his visa, he comes to Australia to study. So he goes to either Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, wherever he loves to go to. Now, where do you come? How much support do you? That's the time that the coach needs the support. How much support do you and your company giving?
See, we support our students completely from the time when they have actually applied. Now, if they've applied through us, they're obviously in touch with our office directly from wherever they're applying, because the complete support is being given through the head office. So even though their applications are being processed by the respective offices, whether it be Philippines, whether it be India, the support is actually being given by us over here. So my team of qualified educational counselors or my team of migration agents is actually the one who are either doing the visa applications or they're actually preparing the student visa applications. We are guiding our offices over there to give them the full extensive support in terms of what extra help we can assist them with. Little information about opening bank accounts or about things like applying for TFN numbers when they're onshore, on what they can and can't study, and even things like when students come to us with a selection that this is what we would like to study. It's not just that the student tells us that this is what we want to study. We've got to assess whether it's in line with what they have been previously studying or whether it's something that they like to do. Like, I can come up to you and say that this is what I want to study, but it's, as a counselor, it becomes our obligation to make sure that this is what the students are going to last and are going to complete their education, because we find that quite a few students, when they've come to Australia, they have been guided incorrectly by their agents in India or overseas. And when they come here, they're stuck in legal issues where they either can't change their courses or they can't study in the respective universities because they've been thrown into those courses or universities only because the agents were benefiting out of it. And it was not in the benefit of the student itself to actually do that course.
That's good. So what happens? You have agency in Gujarat, right?
Yes.
Is that the only agency you have, or you are everywhere?
No, we're we can work with students from anywhere, any part of India, but our head office is in Australia, and we have one office in Gujarat and in Ahmedabad, and then we have one in Delhi. And then we are in plans of opening more offices, but even if we do open even if we don't have an office, say let's in Kerala, we still have students from Kerala who are approaching the Ahmedabad office, and we can get their work done through the Ahmedabad office or through the Delhi office.
That's really good. And I was looking at some of your states. You had about 1,500 admissions last year. You have got 70 plus colleges and units that you're working with, and your success rate is 97%. And you have offered visa to almost 1,000 people. That's really, really congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's lovely stats to have by you.
Yes.
Well, let's move on and talk about the current, the COVID-19 situation, right?
Yes.
First of all our students are stuck wherever they are.
Yes.
There are some students who are still here who have to go back home, but then they can't because they are stuck. So India is also in a lockdown mode. So obviously people can't come out. What do you think? I mean, if this is anybody's guess, but do you think how long will it take before Narendra Modi opens the gates for people to fly in and out of the country?
Vijay, see, this is a very I would say that no one can accurately answer this question, because as we know that the statistics for the COVID-19, the cases have just recently changed in India. So we don't know whether this travel issue is going to get any better anytime soon. What we can talk on is an Australian point of view. See, Australia has actually shut its borders. So India is not allowing people into the country. But if there are flights from India, they are not going to have any issues. Like, we've had recent flights where permanent residents and citizens who were Australians and who were stuck in India have actually come back just recently. Some of them are in quarantine in Sydney and some in Melbourne. We're also seeing that there are new flights that are being scheduled for Brisbane as well. So if the government of Australia is allowing them to come into Australia and there are flights, I'm sure that they shouldn't have an issue coming into Australia. As I said, provided the Australian government is allowing students. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard the recent news by our Prime Minister Scott Morrison. He has said that they are looking into, or they are aiming at letting students come into from July, because they do not want to let the students be impacted because of this COVID situation with their studies. Now, a possibility could be that they would be going into a 14-day quarantine period, and then will be allowed to resume their studies in Australia. At the same time, we also had the news earlier when this matter started, where it was said that any students who have elected or opted to go back to India or any part of their or their hometown just because of this COVID situation, they will not have their visas cancelled. So because of this, if they've had a gap in their studies and that they've chosen to be safe and go back to their home country, be with their families in this hard times, they will not have their visa cancelled. And once this thing reopens back again, they can obviously come back on their current visas if the visa is still valid.
Right. So that's for current students. What about new students? What about new students, say, who are in India, Bangladesh, wherever, Sri Lanka, and they want to apply for courses this coming year? Should they do that, or should they wait for the travel ban to be lifted? What's your
see? At the moment, we are not telling any of our clients or any of our students to wait. We are processing their applications just as normal. We are preparing their student visas. We're preparing their student admissions. Universities, colleges, different education institutions are processing it as well as normal. So I don't see why they should be waiting. And as I said, Mr. Scott Morrison has already announced that international students will be allowed from July. So that goes out to all the existing students and the students who intend to come into Australia. If the university has granted you the admission, if the Department of Home Affairs is approving your student visa application, then by all means, if the government doesn't stop you from coming in, then there is no reason why you should be waiting for the travel ban to be lifted.
Absolutely. So, guys and girls, if you want to start applying, you should continue or do it straight away, right? And talking about the current students studying in Australia, are they entitled for any kind of benefits from the government under the COVID-19 pandemic?
Which is not under, they're not entitled to any government benefits as of such, as they're temporary visa holders. But what benefits the government has said is, as we're aware that they had allowed temporary residents to withdraw their super. So if you've been in Australia for more than a year, even if you're a student and you are suffering financially, so the government has made it very clear, and ATO has also said that if you are suffering financially now, which could result in a loss of job, or you've lost hours where you've been working on a part-time basis, then by all means you're welcome to go and withdraw your super. You can use that to your benefit in the current times. A lot of the students, a lot of the universities, in fact, are offering incentives. So we have Charles Sturt University, then you have the University of Southern Cross, which has a campus in New South Wales and in Gold Coast, which are offering incentives. On the Gold Coast, they're offering a scholarship. On the Lismore campus, they are offering benefits like free accommodation as well. So all students should actually approach their respective universities and colleges to see what they can do. There are also other community groups that are providing assistance. There are several restaurants that are providing free meal deals to students or discounted meal deals. There are local communities, like you have the Gujarati community here in Brisbane or Queensland, who are providing assistance to people from any community rather. So even though it's the Gujarati community, but any other community, whether it's a student from France, or whether it's a student from Philippines or from the US, they are welcome to go there and they'll be looked after.
Great. And what's your opinion on Canada? Canada, what's happening there? They've opened migration now?
Yes, Canada has actually, in fact, increased their migration intake, or rather, they have said that from next year onwards, we'll be increasing our migration intake by 10,000 for the next financial year, followed by an extra 10,000 for the financial year after that. So currently, if we are sitting in 2019, 2020, so 2020, 21 is an extra 10,000, and then 21, 22 an extra 10,000. So they've made that prediction that we're happy to take on board more migrants. Now, if we are going to compare that with Australia, our Prime Minister Scott Morrison has also said that they've not made any forecast for the next financial year yet. We're yet to see the numbers, but they have definitely said that for this financial year, we had our number sitting at approximately 160,000. There were rumors, or there were talks that number is going to come down, because a lot of Australians have been displaced out of their employment or have lost their jobs because of COVID. But our Prime Minister has said that we will not be reducing that number. Although the focus is on Australians getting their jobs back and moving the Australians into the workforce, we will still be offering the same numbers of migration.
Right. Okay, good. Then thanks for that. General question, what advice would you give to students who are kind of coming to study here and eventually they apply for permanent residency? What advice would you give?
My advice to student is that before you come to Australia, do your homework. What I mean by homework is, don't just assume or don't just make a decision based on the counseling given to you or you visiting agents overseas. As I was mentioning, Vijay earlier in our discussion, we get a lot of students who have come to Australia, who have been put into courses which have no relevance to their previous education background. And they're stuck in courses because the education agents have thrown them into courses saying that this has good PR scopes. A very good example is I have had several engineers who have done BTech in India and have enrolled as an accountant. So BTech in computer systems or computer engineering, and then now you're doing a master's in professional accounting. I don't see the relevance in that kind of education, because now you're neither an engineer, you're neither an accountant, and then by the time you finish your studies or you've come into Australia, you've spent, even if you decide to change your course, you've spent 6 months in your current course,
Yes.
and you've spent money on that current course, which is a waste of money for you and your family. It's the hard-earned money of your parents or a bank loan which you or your family is going to repay, and that's gone to no use.
Yes, sure. So they must do that. But it can be very hard. Sometimes your background could be totally different than.
Absolutely. But then again, it also, the onus comes on the student themselves to do their own study and their own research, rather than just relying on a piece of advice given by a migration agent or an education counselor in India or wherever you are.
Right.
You should also make your own studies and look at the trends and look at what's happening around Australia. See the news. We have Google. Google is the best tool for everybody. We have Google at our fingertips. Spend your time. Spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes making searches and looking at different websites, different migration prospects, and you'll find out for yourself what courses are in demand, what skills are in demand.
Yes.
Look at the education lists that are available, or the skilled migration list available on the immigration website.
On that subject, normally, when people want to come to study here, they would either go to Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. What do you say to them? I mean, there are beautiful other places to go to, Perth and Hobart and Darwin and all those places. Why do you think people go here? And can you kind of give them an incentive to go elsewhere?
Again, Vijayji, see, this is a complete brainwash that is happening to the students because of the agents overseas. Now, as I mentioned earlier, agents are only looking because they may get kickbacks, and I'm sure they do get kickbacks, and this is why they are referring students to one particular university or two particular universities or one particular college, because that's whom they are dealing with. Whereas there's so many educational institutions. We have University of New South Wales, we have University of Wollongong, Griffith University, University of Southern Queensland, University of Queensland, Charles Darwin. We have University of South Australia. We have universities in Perth. We have Hobart, UniTas, which is University in Tasmania. So, there are different universities all across Australia spread, and they are equally good. Right. Now, coming back to your question where you said that do they get any incentives? Obviously, if you're going to a regional area, as we first mentioned, you still get the extra 5 points.
Oh, good.
Plus, you're getting into the fact that because these states are developing, they would be able to give you more opportunities. And as we all know, Sydney, Melbourne have now have become saturated. It's so crowded. It's so expensive. For that matter, look, if you even come to Brisbane, like when I came here, people never knew what's Brisbane. People only knew Gold Coast because that used to be a tourist destination. Everyone knew Sydney or Melbourne, but now everyone knows Brisbane and Queensland. People have started hearing about Perth, but no one knows anything about Northern Territories or Tasmania.
Mm-hmm. Well. I really think I'd like to thank you that all this information that you have given us is very, very crucial, very important for us and also for youngsters when they decide to come. Is there a kind of a last message you want to give to our viewers?
Yes, I would like to say that students or applicants who are looking to migrate to Australia, or if you're a student who's looking to study in Australia, do not get disheartened by the COVID-19 situation. I understand it's a pandemic. Everyone around the globe's been affected. It is a problem that's come across us. We have to fight it as a community, as a nation, we have to fight it in the world. But still, keep your dream of studying in Australia. Australia is a welcoming country. It's a land of opportunities. It's very new. If you're skilled, if you're intelligent, there's so many opportunities. You can look at scholarships. You can look at educational opportunities. There's still business opportunities in this country. There's still money to be made. There's still education to be taken, and you can always take that education back to your own country and implement it. If you're not too keen to settle down in these countries, you always have the option to study. Take your education with you. Remember, Education is your greatest tool. No one can take it away from you. That's your strength.
Well, Mr. Anshul Arora, thank you so much for that. Sadly, we have to leave it there. I like to thank the audience for watching us. I like to thank Mr. Anshul for your time and your effort for being with us. If there are any messages that I receive, I will forward them to you, Anshul, and then you can tackle them yourself. I'm sure you won't mind doing that. So,
Absolutely.
so Anshul, thank you so much, friends. I'd like to invite you to come and share with us your knowledge and expertise in any field. We will welcome you, and you can be our guest. We have guests from all over the world, and we go to all over the world too. So any beautiful subject that you want to come and bring and talk to us about, I will really welcome that. And I'm your friend Vijay Jogia. I'm signing you off now. So until next time, namaste. Namaste, Anshul. We'll just
Namaste.
play this. So it's good night from me and good night from him too. Take care and